I hope each and every one of you are having a great time, great life, a great day. You know, life is just too precious to waste. And as I was thinking of some of the topics I talked about in my last episode, I thought, I think what I'm going to start with is money. It's all about the money and other things also. Pretty much everything we do is really about the money. We depend on money. It's kind of like our God. We have to have it. Sometimes we try to live without it, and it really doesn't work. You know, there's so many homeless people out there in the world right now, and people are struggling, and people are looking for jobs, and the job market is really pretty strong right now, but still, do you qualify? We can learn to hate money and also love it at the same time. And money comes in all multitudes of ways. We can steal it. I would not recommend that way. Or we can work for it. Now, the working part, you know, stealing sounds simple, but almost every person that steals gets caught up to. Whether it's robbing a bank or whether it's stealing money from your employer or whatever. I'm going to talk about trucking. That's what this series is about. It's about trucking. It's about you, the driver. It's about you, the consumer. It's about the world. Because everything that exists, except, well, even Earth, dirt, it is moved on a truck at some time or another. Even snow. Many places, the snow is moved out of your city streets on a truck. So there's things we got to look at as a truck driver. And I'm going to use my years of experience to talk to you a little bit out. And I know a lot of you will have your own ideas, and that's the way it is. We all have our own ideas. But I learned some things about trucking when I was out there. I learned one thing. When the wheels weren't turning, if I was paid by the mile, I wasn't making any money. If you were getting paid by the hour, your wheels could stop and you'd still be making money. Not too many jobs, well, local, very close regional, is usually paid by the hour. But most jobs, they're paid by the mile, or how many times your wheels turn. The things you got to start looking at before you jump into trucking is, number one, and I'm going to talk about some of this because I've been learning some of these things the hard way. I've been away from the trucking industry I haven't been away from it, but actual driving for about 6 years. And I'm amazed at how many things have changed. And I'm amazed at how many things have changed since I got into the trucking industry in the beginning, back in the 1980s. Back then, there was no such thing as a trucking school. That's going to cost you $4,700 and 5 days a week for 4 weeks, about something like that, to qualify to be a truck driver. But the world has changed, and there's a lot of you people out there that has maybe a car is the only thing you've ever driven. You know nothing about trucks. You know, you see CDL drivers needed, CDL drivers high pay, CDL payers, we need you, CDL drivers, everybody's looking for a driver, and there's some reasons. There's a lot of reasons why that is happening right now. But I'm going to jump back to the beginning. When I first started, I actually had known how to drive a truck, but I'd never run long haul. I'd never pulled a reefer, that kind of stuff. I learned it from the truck, my farm that I had that video out about. But what happened in most people's lives usually came from a rural background, that you had some knowledge of trucking. Then you were taught by okay, you walk into a company or a friend tells you, usually it was a lot of friends, but if you walked into a company and they'd say, they might put you out with a trainer for a while. In some cases, for me, I went from Utah over Donner's Pass into the Bay Area and turned around, came back, made a delivery, turned around, came back with a trainer. That was my training. That was it. Of course, I knew quite a bit about it already, but I also, over the years, learned a whole lot more than I ever thought I knew. I highly recommend a school. Look at it as an investment. But first of all, you've got to decide if you want to be a truck driver. And I'm going to cover these topics in other videos here about what it really takes to be a truck driver. The glory, the glamour, the CB radio, crossing the country, the beautiful landscapes, four-wheelers all around you, heavy traffic jams, tornadoes, earthquakes, and getting sick. And I'm going to put the last one, which is the most important. There's a lot of other things in between there, but your family. Family is so important. It's really what the world is based on, is family. And that's the reason you're here. Because you came from a mother and a father. That's family. And in many cases, you're going to have brothers and sisters and cousins and aunts and uncles and all kinds of stuff. And maybe children of your own. That's a family. Are you willing to walk out of their lives? This is if you're going sometimes regional or long haul, for 5 days a week, 7 days a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks at a time? Are you willing to do that? Can you do that? That maybe is the bigger word. Can you do that? You're going to get homesick. Let's say you're home 12 times a year. Say you are not able to get home for a child's birthday, or your anniversary, or Christmas, or Thanksgiving. And I can guarantee you, those things will happen. You won't get home. And it depends on what company you drive for. Sometimes you're broke down and you can't make it home. Okay? These are the things you have to think about. Money is a very, very important part of your life. You can't feed your children, you can't feed your wife, maybe your wife works and helps support you, maybe even yourself. But money is very important in our life. It helps us with investments, to save, to live frugal. It helps us with more schooling so you can get out of the trucking job. I know many people get out of the trucking job after a few years and they end up going back to school. My son was one of those. After 6 years, called me and he says, "Dad, I don't think this life is for me." I said, "That's your choice." He says, "I think I'm going to go to college." I says, "That's your choice." And he says, "This is what I plan to do." And I says, "That's your choice." He thought it through and made decisions on what he wanted out of his life. And he followed those decisions, which led him away from the trucking end. But, he's in a company where he ships stuff on trucks. He calls me up, "Dad, guess what I did today? We shipped an oversized load." They're only making $650 on that load, and they only have 200 miles to travel. "Wow, Dad, I think I'll buy a truck." Think about it. I'm not saying it's good, and I'm not saying it's bad. There's a tremendous amount of rules out there. And trucking is getting harder and harder and harder, both to get into, to drive, to by authority, and to follow all the regulations that are out there. Anyway, I'm going to cut it off right here, but I'm going to come back and talk to you more about the investment part and life's experiences and things that we need to look at. We lay out $4,700 or whatever, or if you go to one of these big companies and they'll train you, you know, but you have to stay with them for, I don't know, 2 years or something like that. You know, you've got to ask yourself, how much money will I make in 2 years? And how much was that schooling really going to cost me versus getting into some other occupation and investing the same time and money? Anyway, you have a great day. I'm Steve Allen, and everything that exists out here moves on a truck at some time or another. I'm gone, and you have a great day. Bye.